Welcome everyone to this video again, where we will be looking at the clone brush tool. And to practice for this activity, we're going to be using this picture of the city of Edinburgh. And our task is to remove this red Mini Cooper from the picture entirely. Now, we can't simply select the eraser tool and go across it because it just doesn't work like this. Remember, the data that you see here or I should say that there is no data in this picture that tells us what's behind the car. So what we have to do is we have to use data from around the car to replace the car itself. Now, if I go ahead and select the clone brush tool, I'm going to reduce the size of the brush to about this size. And I'm going to hold Control on the keyboard. Remember, it's on the bottom left hand side of the keyboard, and I'm going to click on the curb right here. So I'm going to set my origin. And if you watched the previous video for the clone brush tool, the sunflower and the vase, you saw that we created a new layer on which we can add all of our edits, because we don't want to be destroying the original picture right here. So now that I've got the curb selected, I can go ahead and clone parts of it. Now, if I am not happy with the results of the clone, notice here the curb is just a little bit lower to where I would want it. My left hand side is constantly on the keyboard, holding Control and pressing the letter Z to undo once. And if that is a little bit confusing, then you can go to Edit and just press undo whatever your last action was, like this. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. This is how we learn. So then I can start copying the curb like this. I can even go ahead at this point in time and maybe copy some of this road over here. Then once you let the mouse go, it will reset back to its original position here. Now we're gonna do something a little bit different from the vase activity. Remember, with the vase activity I said once you're copying the vase, don't let go of the mouse button, because we don't want the origin brush to reset. But with this activity, it's important that we allow it to reset, because if we were to continue to clone that area, then what it's doing is it's actually going on top of the car, and it's cloning that car as well. So we want to only use small parts of this image to edit or to remove the Mini Cooper. So here we go. I'm happy with the distance I just went there, so I can just copy this road a little bit, and then I can let it reset. I can then continue. Oh, it's very close there, so let's try that one more time, and then we just one more final time we can merge it with the other side. Now I've got a little bit more road here that I should have cloned. So what I can do is I can click on my Edinburgh picture or Edinburgh layer, and I can set my source on the road like this. I can click on my new layer where I am editing, and I can start copying like this. Now it's very important that you also understand, when you're setting your source, your origin brush, that you click on the layer from where you want the data to be cloned or copied. Because if you set your origin in the new layer, so let me hide the Edinburgh layer like this. If I'm selected on the new layer and I set my origin somewhere on the left hand side here, and I start to try and copy something, then there's no information for me to copy from there. Even if the layer underneath it is visible, you can see it's not actually cloning anything, because there's no data from that source. So when you are setting your sources, then make sure you click on the layer from where you want the data to be copied from. So I'm pretty happy with this. I could use the healing tool to try and just get this road to look a little bit more better here. and maybe the smudge tool as well, but I'm not going to concern myself with that right now. Go back to the clone tool. I'm going to now think about how to replace the top part of the car, because now the background is getting a little bit more complex. So if I sort of look on the left hand side here, I can see that this part of the image, the one that I'm highlighting with my mouse now, looks very similar to this part next to it. So what I could do is I could set my source on this door here, and then go back to my layer on the one that I'm editing, and I could then just copy that door over to this side like this, and I could copy the base, the pillar as well. Now I'm not very happy with that, because you can clearly see these two lines don't match, so I can just undo that, and I can just I can try to match that again constantly until I am happy with the result. So that looks a little bit better, and I could copy the base of that pillar as well right here, and I could maybe just take that a little bit higher like that. There we go. If you wanted to complete this base, then just go back to the Edinburgh picture, set your source on it, and make sure your brushes sort of are on the same level, so when they start moving together you can copy the same area. Oh well, look, I've made a mistake here. So I've just edited the original image. I didn't click on my new layer, so it might get a little bit confusing and you might forget sometime. So I'm just going to undo that, and I'm going to leave the source right there. I'm going to click on my new layer, and I'm going to try that again to copy it over like this. Then go back to my Edinburgh picture, set my source here, go back to my new layer, and see if I can copy that like this. Now you can see what's happening is it's actually copying some information from the car here. So if I'm happy with this data, I could actually set my source on a new layer like this, and then just copy it over to the other side like so. There we go. For the other areas, you could think about copying the window of this shop onto this one right here. You can think about copying this pillar on this part as well. There's plenty of data around it that you could use to replace the car. Have at it. Good luck.